Good afternoon, Virgo. Um, there are signs that someone is genuinely right for you. Real signs, not the vague, generic ones that could apply to almost anyone. And Spirit gave me six of them today that I want you to actually remember rather than simply hear and forget. That is exactly how this reading opened for me today, Virgo. And I want to be honest about why this particular structure matters so much for someone with your specific gifts. You think in details, you evaluate carefully, you do not make significant decisions based purely on feeling without also examining the actual evidence in front of you. So today, rather than offering you a single vague theme, Spirit gave me something more useful. Six distinct, specific markers you can actually use to evaluate whether someone genuinely fits your life rather than simply feeling exciting in the moment. Listen carefully because I want to walk through each one with real depth. Let me describe what I felt the moment this energy opened, because the very first impression carries real signal about the nature of what Spirit wanted to communicate today. I felt clarity immediately, a specific organized quality that told me this message was not going to be vague or generally applicable in a way that could mean anything to anyone. This was structured, deliberate, the kind of energy that comes through when Spirit wants to give genuinely practical guidance rather than simply emotional reassurance without substance behind it. I also felt a quality of protection present in this energy, the sense that these six markers exist specifically to help you avoid the particular trap that sometimes catches even discerning people, the trap of mistaking intensity or excitement for genuine compatibility. The first sign is consistency that does not require your effort to maintain. I am sensing this is the marker Spirit wanted to deliver first because it addresses something significant about patterns you may have navigated previously. The right person for you does not require constant management on your part in order to remain reliable. Their consistency exists independent of your effort, your reminders, your careful maintenance of the connection. You will notice this specifically in how they follow through on what they say, not occasionally, not when convenient, but as their baseline, ordinary way of operating. I want you to pay attention to whether you find yourself relieved by someone's reliability or whether you find yourself working hard to produce that reliability through your own consistent effort and reminder. The right person makes you feel like you can finally exhale rather than someone you have to continuously manage in order to receive the basic consideration you deserve. I want to expand on this further because I think it deserves real detailed examination given how significant this pattern is in determining genuine compatibility. Many people present themselves as reliable during the early, exciting stages of a connection, when motivation runs high and effort feels easy because everything is still novel. The real test of consistency comes later during ordinary, unremarkable periods when the initial excitement has settled into something more routine. I want you to specifically observe how someone behaves during these less exciting, more mundane stretches of connection, because this is where genuine character either confirms or contradicts the impression created during the more intense early period. I also want to address something about the specific feeling this kind of effortless consistency produces in your own body and your own nervous system. I am sensing that genuine reliability creates a particular quality of calm, a settling that allows you to direct your energy toward other areas of your life rather than spending ongoing mental and emotional resources monitoring whether this person will follow through on what they have said. If you notice yourself frequently anxious or uncertain about whether someone will actually do what they have committed to, this absence of calm itself is valuable information worth taking seriously. The second sign is genuine curiosity about your interior world, not just your surface presentation. I am sensing the right person for you. Ask questions that go beyond polite, surface level interests, genuinely wanting to understand how you think, what you value, what experiences have shaped who you have become. This curiosity is not performed for the purpose of impressing you. It is genuine, sustained, the kind that continues even after the initial getting to know you period has passed. I want you to notice whether someone's questions about you feel like genuine exploration or whether they feel more like a checklist being completed before moving on to talking about themselves. The right person remains curious about you well beyond the early stages of connection, continuing to discover new layers of who you are rather than assuming they have fully figured you out after a few conversations. I want to expand on this further because I think the specific texture of genuine curiosity deserves more detailed examination. Genuine curiosity tends to produce follow-up questions, a willingness to sit with your answers rather than quickly moving the conversation toward themselves, a memory of what you have shared previously that gets referenced naturally in later conversations rather than requiring you to repeat important context. This kind of attentive, retained interest signals that the other person is actually building an internal understanding of who you are rather than simply processing information about you temporarily before moving on to other topics. I also want to address something about how this curiosity should ideally extend beyond the more impressive or easily presentable aspects of your life into the more complex, sometimes difficult territories as well. The right person for you wants to understand not just your achievements and your strengths, but also your struggles, your fears, the more complicated parts of your history that require more careful, patient listening to fully understand. If someone's curiosity seems to apply selectively, primarily interested in the parts of you that are easiest or most flattering to discuss, that selectivity itself is worth noting. Does this feel like it is resonating with someone specific in your life, Virgo, or perhaps helping you evaluate a pattern you have noticed across different connections? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear how these markers are landing for your own experience. The third sign is how they handle your no, not just your yes. I am sensing this marker matters significantly for you specifically, Virgo, because your natural tendency toward consideration and accommodation sometimes makes it harder to notice how someone responds when you actually assert a boundary or decline something. The right person for you respects your no with the same ease they would show toward your yes, without sulking, without subtle punishment, without making you feel guilty for having genuine limits. I want you to pay close attention to this specific dynamic as it shows up in your connections. Someone who handles your boundaries gracefully, who does not require convincing or guilt tripping in order to accept that you have genuine limits, is demonstrating something significant about their respect for you as a complete person rather than someone whose preferences only matter when they align conveniently with what this person wants. I want to expand on this marker further because I think it deserves real, thorough examination given how easily it can be overlooked, particularly by someone with your natural inclination toward accommodation. I am sensing you may have experienced in previous connections a pattern where your no was met with subtle withdrawal of warmth, with extended negotiation designed to wear down your resolve, or with a quality of disappointment that made you feel obligated to reconsider even when your original boundary was genuinely valid. I want you to notice the absence of this pattern as a genuinely significant positive sign, rather than simply expecting it as a baseline that everyone naturally provides. I also want to address something about how this marker extends beyond simple, isolated incidents into a broader pattern of respect for your autonomy more generally. The right person for you does not just accept individual instances of you saying no, but demonstrates a broader understanding that you are a complete person with your own genuine preferences, limits, and autonomy that exist independent of what would be most convenient or pleasing for them specifically. This broader respect for your autonomy as a whole person tends to show up consistently across many different contexts, not just in isolated moments when a specific boundary happens to arise. The fourth sign is whether their presence in your life makes your other relationships better, not more complicated. I am sensing Spirit wants you to pay attention to the ripple effect someone's presence creates throughout your broader life, not just within the isolated bubble of your connection with them specifically. The right person for you generally integrates well with your existing relationships, your friendships, your family connections, rather than creating ongoing tension or requiring you to choose between them and the other meaningful people in your life. I want you to notice whether someone seems genuinely interested in becoming part of your broader life, meeting the people who matter to you, engaging with your existing world, or whether they seem to prefer keeping your connection somewhat isolated from your other relationships, requiring increasing amounts of your time and attention in ways that gradually crowd out other meaningful connections. I want to expand on this marker further because I think it deserves real, careful examination given how significant this pattern can be for your overall well-being. I am sensing that connections which gradually isolate you from your broader support system, even when this isolation happens subtly and without explicit intention, tend to create vulnerability rather than genuine partnership over time. The right person for you should feel like an addition to your life, expanding your world rather than narrowing it, genuinely curious about your friendships and your family rather than treating them as competition for your attention and your time. I also want to address something about how to evaluate this marker honestly, because I think nuance matters here. Not every disagreement between someone you are dating and someone in your existing life automatically indicates a problem with this marker. Genuine friction sometimes occurs for legitimate reasons. What I want you to watch for specifically is a pattern, a consistent tendency for this person to create distance between you and the people who matter to you, rather than isolated, occasional friction that has reasonable, understandable explanations behind it. Inhale with me for a moment, Virgo. The fifth sign is how they treat people who cannot offer them anything. I am sensing this marker carries particular weight because it reveals character in a way that direct interaction with you specifically sometimes cannot. The right person for you treats service workers, strangers, people in less powerful positions with the same basic respect and consideration they extend to people who matter strategically to them. This consistency across contexts reveals genuine character rather than situational performance designed specifically to impress you. I want you to watch carefully how someone behaves in moments when they believe no one significant is paying attention, how they treat a server who makes a mistake, how they speak about people who are not present, how they handle minor frustrations in daily life. These unguarded moments often reveal more truth about someone's actual character than anything they directly say to you during more curated, intentional interactions. I want to expand on this marker further because I think it deserves real, thorough examination given how revealing it genuinely is. Someone who is consistently kind and respectful, regardless of whether the person they are interacting with has any power to affect their own life or reputation, is demonstrating that their kindness comes from genuine internal character rather than strategic calculation about what behavior will produce favorable outcomes for them. This is significant because it suggests the warmth and consideration you experience directly from this person is genuinely who they are, rather than a performance specifically constructed for your benefit that might fade once you are no longer the primary audience for their behavior. I also want to address something about a particular pattern worth watching for, which is how someone speaks about previous relationships or previous conflicts when describing them to you. If every previous connection in someone's history is described entirely as the other person's fault, with no acknowledgement of their own contribution to whatever difficulty occurred, this pattern of complete externalization is worth noting carefully. Genuine self-awareness tends to include some honest acknowledgement of one's own role in past difficulties, rather than a consistent narrative where they are always simply the wronged party regardless of the specific situation being described. The sixth and final sign is whether you feel more fully yourself around them, not less. I am sensing this is in many ways the most important of all six markers because it speaks to the fundamental quality of compatibility rather than simply individual behaviors. The right person for you creates space for you to be your actual complete self, including the parts of you that are complex, particular, sometimes difficult to fully explain. You do not feel pressure to simplify yourself, to manage your reactions carefully, to present an edited version designed specifically for their comfort. I want you to notice whether you find yourself relaxing more fully into your own personality around someone, becoming more genuinely yourself rather than more careful and managed, or whether the opposite occurs, where you find yourself increasingly editing your reactions, your opinions, your genuine self in order to maintain harmony or avoid friction within the connection. I want to expand on this final marker further because I think it deserves the most thorough examination of all six, given its central importance to genuine, sustainable compatibility. I am sensing this particular quality often reveals itself most clearly in small, seemingly minor moments rather than in any single dramatic test. The specific ease with which you can express a genuine opinion that differs from theirs, the comfort you feel sharing something quirky or unconventional about yourself without anticipating judgment, the natural quality of your laughter and your humor when you are together. All of these smaller indicators accumulate into a genuine sense of whether you are actually more yourself or less yourself within this particular connection. I also want to address something about how this marker connects back to all five of the previous signs, because I think understanding this connection helps illustrate why it serves as such a fitting conclusion to this entire reading. Consistency, genuine curiosity, respect for boundaries, healthy integration with your broader life, and consistent character across contexts. All of these previous markers ultimately create the conditions that allow this final, most important quality to actually develop and flourish. When someone demonstrates all five of the earlier signs, the natural result tends to be exactly this sense of safety and authenticity that allows you to be fully, genuinely yourself without the careful management that less compatible connections often require. I want to speak to how these six signs work together because I think understanding their combined significance matters more than treating each as an isolated checklist item. No single one of these signs alone definitively determines whether someone is right for you. People are complex, and even generally compatible connections will have moments that do not perfectly align with every marker described here. What matters more is the overall pattern, whether the majority of these signs are genuinely present and consistent over time, rather than expecting flawless, perfect alignment across every single marker in every single moment. I want to expand on this principle further because I think it deserves real, honest examination rather than simply being stated and left there without sufficient depth. Real human beings, even genuinely good, compatible partners, will have occasional moments of inconsistency, occasional instances where curiosity flags due to their own stress or distraction, occasional friction around boundaries that gets resolved imperfectly before being genuinely worked through. I do not want this reading to create unrealistic expectations where any single imperfect moment disqualifies someone entirely. What matters is the consistent, reliable pattern over meaningful time, not flawless performance across every individual interaction. I also want to address something about using these markers as a genuine tool for reflection rather than as a rigid scorecard applied mechanically to every connection you encounter. I want you to hold these six signs loosely enough that they inform your genuine intuition rather than replacing it entirely, using them as a framework for understanding what you are actually noticing and feeling, rather than treating them as an external checklist that overrides your own authentic experience of a particular connection. I want to address what to do if you notice that someone in your current life is missing several of these markers significantly, because I think practical guidance here serves you better than only descriptive observation alone. If multiple significant gaps exist between what these signs describe and your actual experience of a current connection, I want you to take this information seriously rather than minimizing it in favor of the parts of the connection that do feel exciting or compelling. Excitement and chemistry, while genuinely valuable, are not substitutes for the deeper compatibility markers these six signs are actually describing. I also want to address something about timing because I think it deserves honest attention as you consider these markers. Some of these signs require time to actually become visible, particularly the ones related to consistency and to how someone integrates with your broader life. I want you to be patient in your evaluation process, giving genuine connections enough time to demonstrate these markers naturally, rather than rushing to conclusions based on only the earliest, most curated stage of getting to know someone. As I bring this reading toward its close, I want to leave you with the complete picture Spirit shared today. The right person for you demonstrates consistency without requiring your constant management, genuine sustained curiosity about your interior world, graceful respect for your boundaries, positive integration with your broader relationships, genuine character revealed through how they treat people who cannot benefit them, and the specific quality of allowing you to feel more fully yourself rather than more carefully managed. Use these six markers not as a rigid checklist, but as a genuine guide, trusting your own discernment as you evaluate whether someone in your life genuinely embodies this pattern of compatibility. Carry these 6 signs with you gently, letting them inform rather than override the wisdom you already carry within yourself. If this reading resonated with you today, please share it with a Virgo who could benefit from these specific practical markers for evaluating genuine compatibility. And let me know in the comments which of these 6 signs felt most significant for your own situation. I read every comment and I carry your stories with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo. The right person reveals themselves through patterns, not promises. And now you have 6 specific signs to help you recognize them clearly.